All right, let's call our board meeting for November 18th to order. This is our regular meeting for the month. So welcome everyone. Let's stand for the flag salute. Hey Jessica, why don't you lead the flag salute today?
I already led it once today. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Security light doesn't look like this.
We had a little power outage, so we learned a lot about.
So, I don't know, do we have any announcements? I think at the end of the meeting, we'll go over what's coming up, such as, school assemblies and, I know that Kelly's real good at getting that stuff in the newsletter each week. Does anybody have any announcements? All right. Let's move on. Let's review the agenda. Are there any corrections or additions to the agenda tonight?
Yes. 6C should be maintaining.
Can't hear you.
Pardon?
6C should be maintaining professional staff, not professions.
Right.
There's a typo.
Professional.
I think I need to have something for action items, but I don't know.
Well, we can take action at any time. Things don't have to be listed though. And that's kind of a misnomer. People get confused sometimes. Doesn't have to be on the action item list. Doesn't have to be on the agenda. If we're going to make a decision, it should fall under one of these things, but no, it doesn't have to be on the agenda for a regular meeting. It does not, a special meeting, it certainly does. Unless it's a policy. It has to be on the agenda.
But you can still bring it up.
We can certainly have a
Just can't do
discussion,
anything.
right, just wouldn't be able
Yeah.
to make approval unless we're at, you know.
Right.
Absolutely.
bring it up next meeting.
That's right. You
Call if you want to.
request
Yeah.
request that to be a first reading. Okay, anything, did you come up with anything? Move forward, all right. Let's hear a motion to approve the agenda as written.
I'll make a motion. Okay, I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented to us tonight. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, anyone opposed? All right, let's move forward to the consent agenda with a review of the minutes. Seems like I found a typo. Yeah, there's helpful. First one's under approval of agenda.
It's removed, it's scribble out the STI.
STIA, yeah.
I kind of like it, that's, yeah.
Agenda, yeah.
I don't know how,
I feel like it,
spell check didn't catch that.
All right, any other corrections or additions to the minutes? I do have a question, on down there on item 7, under superintendent report. Where it says the school will no longer celebrate named holidays. So, a named holiday. Halloween. Is that
yeah, I think,
versus Veterans Day?
I think I need to come up with a different way to say that. I
Yeah,
think that
'cause
is what I
it-
said, because that's not my intent.
Yeah, we don't want to eliminate
Right.
Veterans Day.
Or,
but-
yeah, it's Martin Luther King
what's a
Day, or,
named holiday?
right,
Yeah.
What about Christmas?
well,
It's a state holiday. It's a weird one, right?
we have to be careful
Right.
about how we're celebrating holidays. We have to,
We want to celebrate holidays in an inclusive
in an
manner.
inclusive manner,
That does.
so. in a more secular way versus,
So what if we said the
So call
school,
it Xmas.
so what if we said the school is moving forward with our holiday celebrations to ensure that they are in accordance with OSPI and state law?
that would be great.
Yeah. Because ESD is celebrating Xmas.
Xmas.
It's all a slippery slope.
Okay, any other corrections or additions?
Christmas.
I
Yeah,
just wanna say
but this is
something,
probably looking for the-
in reading C under 56C. Oh, wait, no, sorry, under public comment. When I was talking about the, COVID test
Mhm.
and asking the school had some, I wasn't. If I indicated that, I did not mean to, that I wanted the school to be testing kids. I mean, unless parents ask them to, test their kid when they came back to school, but so to protect the other kids. I was merely asking because my situation was that, my granddaughter had COVID. And my son had exhausted the test that he had and had to go to work. And so I was going to town and he asked me to see if I could get another test, because he didn't want her to come back to school and infect other kids. And so I called the school first and Lisa told me, no, those are all expired. And I thought, oh, well, I think we should have them in case parents, because parents might want either the school to test or them to have a test to,
Yeah.
to test with. So I have one, this makes it sound like I was asking for something.
I
that
didn't
wasn't.
take it as though you wanted us to test. I took
Okay.
it as though you were
That's-
hoping we would have some on hand in case
That
the family
is-
needed.
That is exactly
Yes.
how I meant it.
And so,
Anita,
On
are we
that-
changing the report from the last meeting, or are we just adding clarification in the next minutes? When
we are reviewing the minutes to ensure that they meet our needs and,
Okay.
accurately reflected the meeting.
Okay.
And so
So I'm not
regarding,
asking for a change.
regarding Diane's comment, I think that the public comment, we did have public comment expressing concern over COVID tests being administered at school. We could just say pro or con, because we did receive that comment.
Yeah.
And so, but it doesn't tell us if that was a pro or con.
Right.
Does anybody remember?
Yeah.
It was Robbie.
It was probably, it was not, it was.
It was a con comment.
Yes.
I think
Because-
medical intervention should be gathered at a medical office
Okay,
and not a school.
so you made a, I don't know if I could say con, but I think that we're gonna have that in there, and I'm sorry I didn't say this earlier, Jessica. It does the board good, or someone reading the minutes in the future, to know if that was in support of or against.
Well, yeah, because it doesn't even address my comment.
No,
So.
no, it was just the public comment, yeah.
I felt like they expressed.
But I just wondered.
Yeah, I
I
think
just-
your comment was under superintendent report. It didn't say your, well, yeah, it did.
Oh.
Director Green asked if the school will be receiving.
Oh,
COVID
okay.
tests.
All right. That's right. I did read that. Yeah.
So,
It was
and
in a
if you
different
want
spot.
me to take out 2 administrative students, because maybe that does make it sound like
Yeah.
It does.
it,
So, yeah, that
then I
would be
can take that
nice,
out.
because that's not
Okay.
at all,
right,
So I could say Director Green asks if the school will be receiving new COVID tests, period.
yes.
yeah,
Okay,
right,
That was
because I
your-
know that they should be available to them, so, yeah.
okay. Anything else regarding, corrections or additions to the minutes?
So we're saying the school, and we are changing the minutes to say the school will celebrate holidays with the accordance with OSBI and state law.
I'm-
In accordance to, no, yeah, right, okay,
We'll celebrate holidays
holidays, right?
to be in accordance with OSBI and state law.
Okay, so we have the correction up under item 2, the spelling correction, down the computer. And then under B, 4. Eliminating to administer to students, to 7, which Eric just mentioned, where they will celebrate holidays and in accordance with OSP and state law. And then item 7, which will show, Jessica's got that note down to show that they're expressing whatever it is we said, Jessica.
Yep, yep. I got
And
it.
I think that's it. Anything else? All right, let's have a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I'll make that motion.
Or we'll see that as part of our consent agenda.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, I always
Oh,
forget
right.
that.
yeah,
The minutes are part of our
Never mind.
consent agenda, so we don't have to have a,
yeah,
so I will retract my request for approval and, because we still have the other items on the consent agenda.
Right.
Let's just not forget the changes we made.
Right. It's not-
All right, we have the AP vouchers. We did have one question on page 3, the second to the last item. Amazon Capital Services phone service. Do we get phone service from Amazon? $443.09. I think it's probably supposed to be.
it's really hard to look at this and read it across. Does anybody else have that problem? Because you've got these two, you've got a line and then one, and then immediately underneath it. I think a space should be between one section.
I
and
couldn't
then-
read it last meeting, but I figured it out this meeting.
I know, I
The
figured it
gray
out.
part
I
And then
figured it
the
out,
clear
but-
part underneath it,
but
yeah,
it's-
everything's there twice.
It's,
And so that's why I'm wondering if the gray part is an
Yeah.
error. That
Well,
should
the-
say,
The great part is the total, and then the line items are the details, so you could have like, in a lot of cases, we just have one, but
you
it's.
could have more than
You
one.
could have more than one that makes up the gray parts total.
Yeah,
We
but
just,
in
we
this
just haven't
case,
put
I'm
that.
talking
in.
about Amazon Capital Services.
Okay, so
for
then
phone
how do you
service.
have Amazon Capital Services and phone service?
this is
That's
all,
That's my
Yeah,
question.
let
the
me,
the vendor
I
is
can-
all
find out.
Amazon.
I'm not
Capital
sure. I went through this
Services.
with, Say, I didn't. I asked her some questions, but not on that one. So I'll,
Okay, and then
Just-
my next one was.
Yeah,
Really doesn't have anything to do with the bill, but Diane, we've got the water bill here. So when the power is out, we still have water. So is water a gravity feed or do you have backup,
We have a backup
electricity for
gen-
your pump that pumps?
we have
the
a
water?
backup generator.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everybody,
And besides, hopefully it's not out long enough that we're gonna drain the tank.
So the tank is gravity fed,
The tank, yeah, the tank is gravity fed, but we also have a generator
to fill.
and I see the
to fill it.
propane tank there, I think, right? There's a propane tank there. Yeah, that's what I didn't know what the propane tank, if it powered the well pump.
Oh, what do you mean? You see what propane tank?
How do you power the pump that provides water to your customers when the electricity is out? Or is it gravity feed from the tank?
The tank's up the hill. so
Right,
it's
and it's
feed.
gravity, okay, that's
yeah.
my question, right?
The generator pumps it from
But
the
the-
spring up to
But
the
the,
tank.
but the
Right.
But the
generator,
tank's
if
still-
the generator needs to come on, if the tank gets low, there's a sensor in the tank that says
Yeah.
we're at this level, we don't wanna go to blow it. Safety,
I'm just curious, because they were able to push toilets and everything when
If
the
we-
power was out.
yeah, if we do go below the level, then we have to, then we have to get it tested.
Which
and-
could
and we
happen
have to-
because your
yeah,
pump isn't refilling your tank.
Yeah,
Right,
but
okay,
our pump does, yeah,
okay.
so it will,
Just out of curiosity, do you have a heater in the tank? Does it ever freeze?
that I can't answer.
That's why I said, I
not the-
think there's some kind of little propane tank there beside the pump
Yeah,
house.
there's gotta be some sort of heater. You have a heater or something
Yeah.
that's it.
Probably,
But
I haven't been up there
it's
in a
several
while.
years since I was over there.
it's been a while since I've been up there, I don't need to go up there.
Matt
Bob
Myers,
Rowe,
Matt Myers has
I was kind of
9,000
confused on
gallon
page 8.
tank.
What's all that?
Well, I was a little confused on that too, because, each one of that description of costs covers everything listed there, but instead of like on everything else where it's detailed out, like under our Amazon, it's detailed out $44 for IT supplies, here it's all lumped together. And so I agree that we should have it detailed out, because these are higher amounts than what we see under Amazon. This is our credit card with Umpqua Bank. And so it would be nice, instead of having that generic all-inclusive description, that we know.
But it's
517
listed time after time after time is the thing.
I know,
It's listed like, you know,
yeah, so was $517 for a business license or a,
It's a single description that you copy and pasted for a bunch of different things.
I don't
Right.
even know what Namecheap is,
yeah.
or safety bags.
So basically, I think
But it-
one of these
but
is
each
probably,
one
she
of-
put one description in place, and then she copied it from the overall description into the detailed description,
Right.
without breaking down like, oh, it was 517 for the robotics. 484 for the English curriculum, and
Right, yeah, exactly.
Oh, I see what you're saying. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
There's a whole bunch of stuff
10.
there.
There's 10 different.
there's 8.
There's 8.
I
1,
counted 10,
2,
English,
3, 4,
robotics,
5,
dumpster, stamps,
6,
business
7,
license,
8, 9, 10.
software,
There's a comma in
Microsoft,
between.
Namecheap, and
You're right,
safety
she listed 9 things, but there were 8 charges, so. One of those charges is 2
10
things,
things.
or whatever.
Anyway, yeah.
So
it's
that would be
confusing.
nice to have that corrected in the future too, so. All righty, that's all I have. Does anybody else have?
I mean, overall. Percentage wise, we're okay, you know, and there's a lot of expenses right at the first couple months.
Yes.
And so.
So we're
that's
always
not
gonna have a bunch
continue
of
to be-
little stuff, you know?
Yeah,
It's just, it's
But
gonna
I
be
mean,
never
this,
ending.
this is gonna be heavier loaded than
Yeah,
the next couple months.
because we're getting supplies and curriculum and getting the year
Right.
started.
Makes sense. But percentage wise, we're still good.
For review of payroll, we have, 2 warrant registers because the one on kind of got left off. So, we should review both of those. One for $657.63 and the other $470,546.78.
And I believe I can explain the difference. If you would like.
So when I say we, on the consent agenda, we approve the, county treasurer to honor payroll in the amount of $123,348.92. That does not match the amount on our warrants. There are 2 warrant pages, and we always wonder what the difference is. And so it's like every 3 months or so, we have to be reminded. And so Kelly's gonna explain it, so we never have to be
Fine.
reminded again.
So. The check register is exactly that. It is just items paid by actual check. Versus the warrant register, which includes things that are also paid electronically. That's the difference. So even though the check register includes things that like payroll, which you would think would be direct deposit, we pay Umpqua by check and then they do it electronically. So that's why the check register is always a little bit less.
So which lines on these are the check register?
Well, now, that was the end of my.
Okay, well, then let's not do it right now.
You have to wait till next time.
That was my lesson from Kristen, and that was 101. I will go to 102 next month.
All right.
So the warrants are not paychecks. So if you don't have a list of paychecks and paychecks amount, the warrants are separate checks written to Department of Retirement, Employment Security, and life insurance company, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, no, she, like the Umpqua Bank, it's paycheck checks that go to but it includes,
Umpqua Bank also pays state L and I and federal and social security. That's
That's
what
what-
that number is. Right, now online, if you went online before the meeting tonight,
Mhm.
Jessica posted the payroll salaries
Right.
list. So you saw that, but we don't have that here in front of us.
but we don't.
Thank you.
It is included in this, Anita, because if you multiply this by 10, 11, 12,
Get your 170.
what I'm saying, that's like 10 times this is 1.7 million. We don't have another 1.3 million
Zero
going
budget.
to our employees, so. It's somehow included in the one.
Somehow it's included, okay, good. Somehow because the dollar amount
Yeah.
matches. Or is, oh, well.
This includes benefits and
Yes,
Yes.
payroll, and
It's
it's the 170, and it's,
and digital checks versus.
yeah.
hand-
This is like,
written
this is like
checks.
everything.
Yeah,
All right, well, I'm sorry, was the question on the warrant register, the payroll? Was that your question?
Yeah, we were just,
Okay,
it includes payroll, we just don't see a line item that says payroll or anybody's name or anything.
it's the Umpqua, it's this one.
Which,
Okay, that was what you were saying.
which we,
that's what I'm saying, it's like, well, it's Umpqua plus, right, because payroll's like 123.
we never have seen individual names.
No,
Well,
No.
on it, the individual names are on a document that was with.
But we don't.
On,
I just wish I knew which
Online.
lines
Okay.
make up the 123, because none of them seem to add to 123, is more my question.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, so it's separated out because it's like salary and then all of the taxes and things are separated out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if I knew which ones those were, then, oh, okay, that makes sense. And I think what happened with some of the other stuff. None of them add up, it's like 80% of this plus this and this.
plus, we don't see our portion of, Medicare, stuff like that. You know, it's like,
Well, now you're talking about payroll 201, so that one. that'll take me-
Employer contribution, you're saying?
yeah, because the employee contribution would be, well, if this is net paycheck amount, so.
Yeah.
I think we're done talking about that, we are
Yeah.
aligned, really.
Honestly, if you ever get that answer, just email it to me, so we don't have to go over it.
Would you like to Zoom with Kristen? We can do that. That's probably, I mean, that's really what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna Zoom with her. I'm gonna take really good notes and then I'm gonna come back with as much as I can remember. So we could just set up a Zoom together.
Sure, I'll do that with you.
Okay, let's do that.
Everything's getting paid because we get no complaints from the IRS, from Social Security or Medicare or the state
None of
or
the
anybody.
employees.
Yeah, or the employees.
Yeah. the
So we
important
know
part.
it's all being done very, very well. Okay, so we are ready for the, to accept the items on the consent agenda, which includes the minutes that I had just put forward before, our payroll, our AP vouchers.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the consent agenda as presented. The minutes as modified, and all in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay,
Are you abstaining from these?
pardon? Am I what?
We just assume that you're voting yes.
Oh, yeah. I just always vote yes. I look at everybody else.
Last year,
You don't, but you haven't said it.
So while everybody signs everything, the public can prepare what they'd like to say to us. I like to wait till we're done signing, so everybody's paying attention.
Which she just needs to say I'm abstaining, that she isn't gonna say yes.
They'll say, what are you doing that for?
Yes. Thank you.
Modified votes.
Right. Let's have a public comment. Nice to have you all here tonight. Anybody want to provide comments?
I will.
Hi.
So I'm Barbie and the bus driver. And I know it's a slow, long process, but we need internet out in the bus barn. It needs to get done. It's hard for me to get my work done that I need to do on the computer. Just because I have to haul all my paperwork in from the bus barn into here, and then when it's time to go and do something else, I gotta gather it all back up and take it back out so it's not in somebody else's way, so we really need to find a way to get internet. And it'll clear up office space in here too.
Thank you very much.
I thought we already talked about that.
We've talked about it several times and we can discuss the issues around that when we get to the superintendent's report. Since this is public comment, we'll wait. She's not gonna let us forget.
I'm not. And another thing, today I just had the diesel tank outside filled up, so I don't know how much a gallon it was. It wasn't on the paperwork, so we'll be getting a bill for that. Or you guys will be getting a bill for that. I won't.
You can apply the new math.
Yeah. So anyway, it was, I think, 1,200 and some gallons.
It'll be a big bill.
Yeah.
What is it, about $4
So
a gallon?
the fill up of the tank, is that something you track and keep track of, or do they stop by every time they're up here?
No, I keep track of it and by what I use and what they've filled up. And I was off, I thought it was gonna take 1,500 gallons, but then I realized they didn't fill it all the way full in May because summer's coming on and the heat and stuff. So anyway, we were only down 15, and there's a little peg on the tank. You can watch it go down as I'm filling up the bus.
Okay, thank you. Any other, oh, do you have another one?
Nope.
Nope.
I'm dead.
When did they fill that up?
On my lunch hour today. It would have been
Price has
about
been going down.
1 o'clock. So, they were supposed to be out last week and it didn't work out, so they said they'd be out this week and they'll let me know. So I can unlock the tank, and I got a call on my lunch break. I'm in Carson. And the guy says, I'm here, and the tank isn't unlocked. Can you come and unlock it? And so I scrambled and I got a hold of Tim, and he went over into my office and got the key and unlocked it. So it was all good, but he didn't really want to wait 20 minutes for me to get up here to the line.
Well, a second person to be able to get into it is very important.
Yeah. So it worked out good.
Okay, anyone else? All right, let's move forward then. Reports and discussions. We have, the first item there is our budget report. So if everyone had a chance to review that, we're what? We're in 17, 16, a little over 17% for the year, is that right?
It's close. I mean,
Close enough?
close enough.
But revenues are all over the place and expenses are tracking very, very well.
Yeah, it's so hard to track by month. The big question is if we had anything that's been unexpected. Shift from budget.
So do you have any comments for us on the budget, Kelly?
Nothing. It's just kind of been operating as usual. We, in thinking about kind of long-term on the technology front. We're thinking about a lot of different things technology wise. We are working on that, Doug's working on it, you know. Working with ESD 112. On problem solving it, they've been up here once or twice now, looking for how to get it out there. From a budget perspective, we did just spend just a few $100, to get keyboards for iPads for 3.5 as opposed to buying some type of actual device so that they can access typing, which is really important for that grade band. So that was a more cost-effective solution for now.
Like a dock for their,
Yeah. And we did
iPad.
we did plug in instead of wireless so that it was more likely to actually work. So that will have the lower impact on the budget for now. That's about it,
So I
but it's
know,
within a budget, so.
Yeah. I know that a lot of folks are thinking about the budget and putting together ideas for our next year's budget. So I would encourage everyone to continue to do that. I know Kelly mentioned she's had so many requests.
I will say that, I do believe that the staff has more access to their budget than before. There's a few people that might be able to speak to that. But I think that is really a big benefit this year, that departments and individual classrooms know what their budget is. And so they can plan accordingly for the whole year. That's a really good way to go. It's some head nod.
So no later than February, we'll be getting hot and heavy into putting the budget together and, a lot of times it starts with capital expenses, repairs, facility issues. And then, moves down to classroom curriculum and staffing. So all that's real important and probably will come up, some of that will come up here very soon, yet tonight. Anything else we should know? Anybody have any questions? Okay, let's move on to, that's what is next, the superintendent's report. Thank you very much, Kelly.
I don't have as much for you as I have in the past. So Veterans Day was a huge success. Dr. Terry, these are for you. Some cards they're for you, for a veteran on the board,
okay,
specifically for you.
thank you.
The state of Washington mandates that all students get at least 60 minutes the week leading up to Veterans Day. And our staff did a really good job. K through 12, everyone got that. It was really great around here. So really impressed with that. Our ASB is organizing a canned food drive. So bring up all your non-perishables next week, please. It's a competition between Mill A and PCIA. And the winning school is gonna get a donut party. I am gonna personally purchase donuts for the winning school because the senior parents graduation committee is selling donuts on December 6th. So it's kind of a twofer. I will buy donuts from them to give to the winning school. So make sure you donate to those schools when you donate, board members, please.
That's not just what I was gonna say, if we donate canned food, who gets credit?
This week, isn't it?
It's this week,
It's starting Monday.
today.
Today.
Today's Monday.
You weren't in Today.
Yeah, today, starting today. Yeah, so please bring food, non-perishables. And what's great about it is each item counts. So like if you were to go to Costco and get the big thing of like popcorn, like I think there's like 32 items, 32 individual bags inside the box, that's 32 items. So if you get the big thing of ramen, which is like, I don't know, 50, that's 50. So
The Nutri-Grain bars are 64.
the Nutri-Grain bars are 64. So now you know the secrets to up the numbers. Some of the big items that are really needed, are things like, other than food, are diapers. So if you are so inclined to purchase diapers, that was one of the non-commercial items that were really.
What size?
All sizes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, maybe.
Pretty good catch there.
Always fact checking me, Director Lundy, always. At our last meeting, COVID tests did come up. We did get a couple on site, just in case a family happens to need one. We won't be administering the tests, but we do understand that, you know what, if you need to test and you can't get into town to pick one up, or you don't have time to send in for the 2 free ones that you're entitled to, we want to be a resource, so we have a few available here.
Where are you picking them up at?
We have them, like, you can come to the office and grab a couple.
No.
Where did we get them? I got my 2 free ones mailed to me, and brought it here.
Well, if you go to, One Community Health over in Hood River, they got a table that. It's full, they give them out.
Yeah, we just wanted to make sure we had a couple. I mean, we haven't had anyone ask us, but at least now we have a couple on hand, and then when we run out of those, we'll get a couple more. So
I'll be over there Wednesday.
if you want to pick up 2 or 3, that would be great. We don't want to get so many that they,
Well, if you don't follow the directions correctly, it doesn't do anything.
we just want to have them in case there's a family that is in a situation. We have some really amazing field trips happening. Miss Brooks, one of our PCIA instructors, has been doing the most amazing enrichment opportunities. She took her students to the Arlene Schnitz Concert Hall in October, and then she's got several field trips planned for the Portland Literary Art Series over the next few months. It's really awesome what she's been able to do. We've got just a lot of actually great extracurriculars going on. Knowledge Bowl, the varsity placed 3rd, but only missed 1st place by 4 points. So they're in the running. That's where the sentence ended, so I'm not sure what they're in the running for. I'm assuming. I'm assuming a 1st place overall. And JV got 1st, at the most recent match or meet, or what would it be called? The meet.
For knowledgeable, I think it's a meet.
Okay, thanks.
Smackdown.
And I think just to add that our teams, when we do well, it's kind of exceptional because we're in a position where we're competing against larger schools that we normally wouldn't have to. So, we're a small school doing well against larger schools is even more impressive.
Yeah. It's,
Congratulations. It seems like our team's always done well.
We've gone to states every year, haven't we?
I don't know. I mean, I know, yeah, I think you're right.
I think
Mr.
that's
Van
true.
Duzer is really,
Yeah.
really,
And it's
Works for them a
probably
lot.
what they're in the running for is state.
thank you, that's probably right. I just was like, I copied and pasted exactly what he sent me, and I'm like, huh. I don't really know how that sentence ends.
I think it's state.
So great things happening extracurricular wise. ASB is, not sure if I said it, but ASB is doing the canned food drive. Up and all of it. Report here, so it's small size. Last meeting, we talked about consolidating the websites. So that Aptigee is the platform, and that is in process. They gave us some mock-ups and they looked really good. So I'm very excited. It'll be a couple more months until that takes place, but it's gonna be really great. It's going to make us a lot more compliant. As I was going through some documents over the last couple of weeks, there were a few things that earlier this year, there were some House bills that said we should have had things posted that we haven't yet. Was able to get them up, but had to email ESD 112 to get them onto PCIA. I would like for that process to be different. it will, once they're all together, so it'll make that a lot. easier.
And you mentioned that they're doing something to like create more continuity between the two.
Yeah.
So it feels themed or.
They will have, a very similar look. The color scheme will be very similar. It'll use our district and then school colors.
Okay.
The menus will be the same across the top.
Right.
But like, PCIA will have PCIA specific information and photographs. Mill A will have specific photographs and information, and the district will be specific to the district. But as you navigate back and forth, like where the lunch menu is will be the same, where you find the forms and the notifications will be this.
More continuity.
Yeah.
So it feels like a family rather than.
Like we're one district.
Right.
Yeah, it'll be great. One of the things that has come up recently, that Tim brought to my attention is that, we could be taking advantage of Simply Safe. We currently have 2 base stations. One is in the Columbia room with a smoke alarm. We have 2 base stations, and looks like one is in the Columbia room and then a system in the main building. And we can monitor water on the floor near the water heater. The Pro Basic plan is only $31 a month. And it would have a primary and a secondary phone contact. It would just get billed like on our credit card. This is probably something that would be really beneficial since I'm not very close to the school, and Tim is. So we don't currently have a way to notify anyone if there's a flood or anything like that. So we may want to consider approving going forward with the $31 a month monitoring through Simply Safe. We already have the equipment to do it.
So if you do that, I'd suggest you do it on his cell phone.
Yeah, it would be myself and Tim. And he's-
Yeah, but no, don't do his landline.
Okay,
Don't do what?
don't do his landline.
Do not use his landline. For the last 3 weeks, our phone lines have been going off and on, off and on. Yeah, so there's a problem with the phone line. Actually, it's right in his mom's house.
Okay,
So somebody dug into it a while ago, so
good to know.
it's issues.
I mentioned, earlier, but starting, every other month, we're gonna do a, coffee with the principals from 8 till 9 in the morning. It'll be an opportunity for anyone in the community to come in and chat with, Amy and I. It'll be the first Friday of the month. It'll start on December 6th, so it'll coincide with the donut sales. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. So
you'll have donuts every Friday?
we will not have donuts. That's a kickoff event. So we'll have coffee available and we'll just kind of hang out and people can come in and just informally chat, ask questions, bring up any issues, or just get to know us better. Whatever they would like to do at that time. It's drop in, they don't have to stay for the whole time, just wanting to be more available to the community. And then on the opposite month, on the last Thursday, then it'll be a tea talk. So it'll be from 2 to 3 in the afternoon. And that way there's one in the morning and one in the afternoon. That makes us available about every 6 weeks. And they are kind of back to back in case there are any issues going on in the community. There's a morning and an afternoon availability that are close together. And then, of course, if anything comes up in between, my door is always open. You can always email, call, drop by, schedule an appointment, send a carrier pigeon, whatever the case may be. Smoke signals, whatever the case may be. And then, the 20th, November 20th is Educational Support Professionals Day. I'm not sure exactly what the definition of that is, but let's use it as a reason to celebrate everybody that supports us. So if you decide to that someone is an educational support professional, please make sure to celebrate them on the 20th. We'll have something fun in the break room that day. Where we stop by and say thank you to our educational support professionals. And because we appreciate the work that everyone does around here. And then, I have some fall diagnostic data that I would like to share with you guys. Unless you have any questions before I move into that.
What was the date for that, professional?
The support professionals is the 20th. Which is Wednesday.
And so can you update us on, because I don't know that the board is all updated on what the current step is regarding our application for facility construction improvements. Is there a team working now with ESD?
So the plan, the district put in the plan before I even got here, all the requests. And, that plan is in place.
It's just that grant.
The grant, yeah, so there's the FP9 and the FP 228 are the facilities. They're both for $6 million. For the FP9, we're number 54 out of 56 for being funded.
Okay.
So it is likely that we won't be funded until the next biennium. But we could be, it's whenever they decide. So we did get another $20,000 for planning. So ESD is currently moving forward in planning as far as creating the timeline and everything else like that. But as far as like what the scope and sequence are, what the projects are, that piece was done before you guys hired me. It's all encompassing. We didn't leave anything out. So at this point, they're just really narrowing it down to what would be a logical scope and sequence and a budget.
So is this that one grant that was talking about, they excluded the outbuildings? So it had to be to this one.
And we really didn't.
No.
I mean, and if we get both of them, we're talking about $12 million. So like, we don't have any actual funds granted yet to start construction of any kind. It's still just planning. And then,
So you said next biennium, that'd be the 20.
Number
26,
26,
Yeah,
20.
yeah, because
26, 27.
next year is the second year of.
Yeah.
So this is the current first year of a 2-year
Yeah.
biennium. Got it.
Yeah, but I mean, they could just decide to fund all of it, like.
Right.
We'll know more in the spring.
So if they do more planning, can we get moved up on the list? Too late?
No, because the planning that is happening is like the construction planning. So like the order, like what would be the logical order of the projects? What would be the cost of the projects, things like that. So the projects that we identified as what we would want to do, what our needs are, then it would be like digging into like the cost, the timing, things like that.
So when we start our budget process and we talk about capital improvements and repair and maintenance, we have some significant things to talk about.
So the 20,000 goes to like contractors making plans or?
Does that pay for ESD or is ESD contracting out to someone?
Pays for ESD, and all they're gonna do is scope out and kind of get us an idea of what it would look like and how long we would need to have the building under construction. So, and kind of get us a price of some of the stuff and see if it's even realistic with the 12 million that we.
Like, it's gonna take 2 summers, it's gonna take 3 summers.
Yeah, or are we gonna have to,
Scale back.
yeah, figure out what we're gonna do, so.
Prioritize.
It's,
Mhm.
they're gonna look at that stuff first, and the people that are working with you guys are top notch, so they're doing everything. And yes, it covers all their pay, so what we have right now will cover that.
Okay,
And then they'll set us up with our queues and all the things that they need to do before we get the money to get people out there, so it's wonderfully covered.
had a really good chat with Dan from ESD the other day. He assured me that we were in a great position as far as being as prepared as we could be for where we're at. And that this most recent grant really helped us be as prepared as possible for when, if and when the 6 million does come through. That we'll have a really great scope and sequence, we'll have a priority list. We'll know what the timeline will look like, we'll be very prepared to hit the ground running. Any questions?
About the only other thing is, do you feel good about how prepared we are to handle an extended electrical outage? Since we had a short one, maybe it was 4 or 5 hours, how are we feeling? Are there things that the board can do to assist to make sure we're going to be able to handle one? And now I don't know how we handle students. I mean, if there's no parents home, we can't send students home. So we have to keep them warm here.
Well, there are parameters about how long and temperatures when we do have to close school, and there are emergency procedures about what we have to do when we close school, and we do have to reach out to emergency contacts and things like that. So we would follow, the same procedures we would follow.
So you're feeling good
for-
Like a storm.
for storms and things like that. After that, we identified some things that we needed to purchase, some more lanterns, some emergency lighting. The safety committee is in really good hands. Amy's actually leading the safety committee. That was one of the things that I think was on the forefront of their agenda. They're talking about our emergency notification. They may identify some more needs over the coming months, but as of right now, the immediate things we identified, we handled. And as things come up, we will bring them to the board.
In fact, all the lights got to.
They did get
Extra lights got
the lights got here today. Yeah, we ordered new lights and did a new emergency.
I don't know if he's installed it yet, but I know he's got it, so that was on the list.
Doesn't look like it's installed.
Not that. I put it past it in the hall.
He's got a little scared walking down the dark hall, so.
It was-
there
yeah,
were
it was
some
really-
things we were like walking him through with lanterns, it was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, we did identify that the phone system is probably gonna be one of our big challenges, but we don't have a proposed solution yet.
I did do a training, I was at a training the other morning for 3 hours, and it gave us a whole list of things for us to do and a new app, so we can go do a walkthrough and do safety stuff and have it all printed out and ready to go. Which will be coming up in the next safety meeting, and then we'll sit down and start assessing our areas and going from there, so I know we've got a lot we can do.
I'm sure you know this, but those phones are all PoE. So they can be powered over the Ethernet cable that's serving them.
The internet.
The internet.
Oh.
Internet went down for 2 hours.
So we had phones.
We've had phones for a while.
And then
So we exceeded the time we were supposed to remain open by like 10 minutes, but by the time the bus would have gotten back, we couldn't have gotten students home. And our phones ran out right around then as well. So
They ran out when the internet went down.
it actually was a really great opportunity for us to see exactly like what the threshold is. We also,
Was it our UPSs or was it not the off?
what was the question?
Was it the building's backup power or was it the wireless shot up to the mount? I don't know.
The building.
The building's backup power, the building's backup power.
Our stuff that was.
Yeah.
So
It
if
was
we
also-
had our stuff up, we still would, okay.
We would have still had, yeah, if we had bigger, if our battery backup would have been longer, we would have.
We would have-
We would
yeah.
have been able to go
Yeah.
longer.
It was,
This is the longest outage we've had for quite a while, it seems like.
How long would the outage?
5 hours,
6
I
hours.
think.
Oh, it's more than 5.
It was 6.
Yeah,
Was
but
it
it's 6.
6.
Yeah.
No.
And it was-
it was
yeah.
a couple weeks
And
ago.
so, yeah,
Oh, okay.
Previous-
That went off.
previous has been like 32 hours.
Came back on to
33.
6.
That's it, so, yeah.
The biggest thing was the temperature. And so it wasn't that cold out yet,
So I take it we don't have a generator here.
but it got cold in here rather quickly.
Didn't we have an outage last year, lasted a couple of days, something with Bonneville happened?
Not us. We had one last year that lasted for like 8 hours, we had that really big windstorm. But it. I think it was like,
Years we've had several.
Yeah, we've had 3
Yeah.
days, but
But,
depending on
but
where you
that's,
live.
but, you know,
But
lately,
in those cases, kids go home.
yeah,
But in the middle of the day, a lot of kids don't have parents at home.
and you can't.
So we try to keep them at least till, the end of the school day.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. I was on fire for 2 weeks.
So the safety committee, they're looking into several different things and right now we are. There's no ask at this time, but when they identify kind of next steps, so we'll bring it to the board.
And be sure you put in your newsletter or other places, where, little things that can be donated, like we have the radios donated and stuff, and so let's be sure we include those kinds of things. Any other questions?
So
for
the
Kelly?
emergency power runs on batteries?
Just for the phone and internet, for the internet, I mean. Internet has battery backup. But our regular electrical service for our heaters does not.
Should we be planning on maybe saving up and getting a generator?
I think that's something we definitely need to talk about by the time I was having backup. Yeah,
Big
and,
trade.
and there's choices because each classroom has a separate, and each classroom has a separate heater.
Right,
So we have some options
yeah, but
that we can discuss about,
you don't have to have a generator for the whole school.
yeah, right.
Right,
But you do want to run freezers and refrigerators.
yeah, and
So-
you can use some classrooms.
So I'm
Are
sure
you-
that
are
the
you
safety
needing more
committee
kids?
is going to bring that up to Kelly, and they'll be looking at options and making recommendations to us. For what can we do, because I think that we could expect to. That would be worth
Are you,
something better.
trying to get into a meeting now or?
I'm gonna join the project.
Okay, any other questions and concerns regarding Kelly's report?
Nope.
All right, I think she's gonna pull up a presentation here on the screen, is that right?
I think so.
All right,
Just make sure you join without audio.
Oh, you're
Okay,
okay.
keep that.
yeah, I think she's gonna.
Let's
To see,
No.
Maybe help me at next public comment to make sure I don't miss it if Naomi has a comment.
that's her flower in her hair.
I know it, I see that all the time, and I worry that we miss her, but you're doing that, aren't
Yeah.
you, Jessica? Thank you
But
very
it
much
had
for
to be
doing
too.
that, all right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think this year, the budget, we have a lot of things that we'll talk about, and, it'll be really interesting, we'll probably have a lot of participation and, a big variety of things that we need to address. And get planned.
There. You don't have to watch.
All right.
Okay.
I didn't do anything.
Oh, okay. Never mind, take it back.
Just, you know, clear that up.
So. Okay, I apologize for the view. I should have put it in a slide. I looked better, but I didn't, so. I will next time. So I'm just gonna give you a school-wide overview. I want to make sure that we start there, just so that we can get a pulse of where we're at. The math diagnostic, before I even scroll down to it, there are a couple things to know. So with iReady, it is looking for students who take the test in the fall. It's looking at different domains, it's looking for numbers and operations, algebraic thinking, measurement and data,
Geometry.
and geometry. Thank you. And it will look at each of those domains and determine if a student is at grade level, like early grade level, mid-grade level, end of grade level, and then it will go backwards. So if a student is at the beginning of 5th grade, but their math skills are at the end of 4th grade, they're gonna show up in the yellow. So that's important to know, because it makes this report look a little bit scarier than it necessarily is, right? Because we want to see a lot of green or blue. Green means on grade level, blue means ahead of grade level, yellow means below, red means well below. So in the fall, with this particular report, yellow might mean that they're just at the end of the previous grade level. Red's really what we need to worry about. Okay, does that make sense?
Sure.
Which is different than reading, which is why before we get into it, we wanna make sure to know that. Okay. So, starting the year, we have 16% of the school in math well below grade level. That means that they are 2 or more grade levels below in math to start. 64% is 1 grade level below. 9% is at, and 9% are above. Now, again, the caveat to that is that within that 64%, you might have a student who is just starting 3rd grade and tested at the end of 2nd grade. That's not a bad place to be.
Right.
So as far as fall diagnostics go, this is a pretty good start, right? We're having students who are near the grade level that they're in. So the goal would be to close that yellow and shrink the red by the spring, okay?
Get rid of it.
Ideally, we want to get rid of the red, but if you can get the red down to 10, that's a very healthy result. So 10, 10, 10 red, 10 yellow.
Is this where we're at right now?
This is where we are, yeah, this is where we started the year.
Start.
Yeah, so we took this in October.
In October, so we only had 4 or 5 weeks of school.
Correct, yeah, you want, this is the fall diagnostic, you want to take as close to the beginning of the year as possible.
So it makes sense that they're still on the
Yes.
grade they just came out.
So this is a pretty healthy start.
So how do our teachers feel? Do they feel that, you know, they see this and are they saying, you know, I've had the kids now for 8 weeks, I think maybe we can improve, we're going to improve.
Well, it's a mixed bag. So our students understand math concepts, but they're not fluent. And so we're gonna see that show up throughout the year as they struggle with different math concepts. And so we've identified the areas within math that they're struggling with, and we're working on it, right? So we're putting into practice things that will help them with their automaticity around math. We're doing activities that will help students be able to add, subtract, multiply, and divide more quickly, so that they're not using as much of their working memory to do those things, and they can use more of their thinking on the higher order skills. So when they're doing things like transfiguration in middle school, they can,
Like doing what?
when they're flipping up like objects on a graph and they have to like
Transformation,
transfiguration,
transfiguration, okay.
they can focus on how they're moving the shape instead of like the basic operations.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? I know it's not public comment period, but can you define what it means? What is grade level? Is it what somebody says they should know, or is it like the national average or some other metric? Like, what does it mean to be on grade level?
So with iReady, it means that they, are basically able to. iReady takes the Common Core standards and their curriculum and says that the student would be proficient at the expectation for a student at that grade,
The expectation that some scholar has created.
based on the curriculum, yeah. So it's like any other benchmark, it's gonna be based on whoever wrote the curriculum. The test is gonna be as good as the person who wrote the test.
So is this also K through?
This is K.
K, right?
Yeah.
So you still got quite the range of kids here too, of age.
Yeah.
So-
And, Jeff, I can speak to this test. I've been using it for 6 years. I feel that, I feel fairly confident as far as diagnostic tests go, that it will give us a pretty solid result in alignment with students being able to, put math into application. Because it does test for things like algebraic thinking, it does more than just adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing.
My use of the term some scholar probably was not the right way to phrase that. Some scholar.
Well, if nothing else, this gives you an idea of where your progress is.
So if the same kids have the exact same scores at the end of the year and at the start of the next year, you're gonna see a shift down because they're new grade levels. It's not adjusted based on when the kids take the test.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Repeat that, I couldn't hear.
I said if the same kids do nothing over the summer, retain everything, and have the exact same score in the spring as they do the following fall, there's gonna be a lot more yellow in the fall because they're in a new grade.
Yeah.
if this test had been administered last spring with the exact same score, it would look better,
It would look better
right? And so
because
that's
they'd be in lower grades.
exactly,
And they were behind to start with. Remember the charts we had before, they were behind.
That was
It's
only
gonna
chart-
take a little while to get it back up.
so.
Ain't gonna just take one quarter.
Well,
and
this would be an indicative that it probably isn't that right now.
Math I think isn't as maybe.
A challenge.
As much of a challenge as literacy is. One of the things that I'll be able to show you after we do the winter diagnostic is iReady will, give us a growth report. So it will actually take the score where students started in the fall, and it will show how much growth they made. And then we'll be able to look at that in the spring as well. And that's really, I think, where the magic comes in here, because it doesn't necessarily matter what some scholar decided is the benchmark. What matters is how much students learned over the course of the year, right? Of course, we want them to be able to, do mathematics at what grade level standards are. But really what we're looking for is, did they learn this year? Each student is assigned a growth target and a stretch target. We'll be able to look at how many students met their growth target and their stretch target. But I just wanted to give you a snapshot of kind of where we're starting the year.
And how often is it like 3 assessments during the?
3 assessments, 3 diagnostics, per year is what we're gonna do. Yeah. Okay. So that's math. So reading is different. Reading, the scores are based on really where we are now. So red means well below, yellow means below, green means on, and blue means above as of today.
Because this is a different.
Because this is a different
Platform.
platform.
If we switch to iReady next year, their reading would look a lot like that.
So what is the blue again?
Blue is above.
Okay.
And so, for this one, for students in grade K through 2, the metric that I used was decoding. And then in grades 3 through 8, I used the metric for comprehension. So in grades K through 2, students are still learning how to read. They're still learning like what letter sounds make, they're still learning how to put those together. And then in grades 3 through 8, students are really using reading to learn, and so use the comprehension measurement as the standard to determine where they were at. So in reading, we have 32.5% of our students well below grade level. And 32% of our students below grade level. 30% at and 5% above. What this chart doesn't show is how many students within that well below grade level are multi-grade levels below. So as far as a focus for this year, it really does need to be around literacy, because we have some significant reading gaps to close. So I look forward to coming back at the end of the year with a pie chart that looks a lot different, with a lot less red. And honestly, a lot more yellow and a lot more green. Because we won't be able to get rid of both in 1 year. That just wouldn't be a realistic target. And hopefully some more blue as well. So what questions do you guys have about the data?
Go ahead. So right now you're on a new curriculum in math.
Just math.
Okay, so towards the end, not quite all the way at the end of the school year. And the teachers are pretty well adapted to this new system. You think it'd be beneficial to start at least roll it out on the reading? That way the teachers at least get an idea of what's coming for next year.
So I think that the teachers are gonna need a little bit more time to get their feet underneath them for math,
So
and then
no.
we're gonna, well,
Simple word.
and then we need to talk about it. They may not feel ready to take on a new curriculum back to back in years, they may. I think that,
Well, I'm just talking about just kind of bringing it out and letting them start play with it, and that way they can have a better idea.
I'm not sure adopting a curriculum
Okay,
in 1 year and then in math and then the next year in ELA is a realistic ask.
Right.
So I wanna give them a little bit more time
let them
to
make.
get comfortable with math and then sit down and ask like, do you think that it's realistic to adopt another new curriculum next year? Or do you need more time to get comfortable with math and continue doing what you've been doing with ELA before we tackle a second new curriculum? Cause it's a lot.
And you said that you felt like spring break would be when you'd be able to kind of answer
Come
that
to the board
question.
with that question, with that answer.
I still think the hardest part of this whole thing is having 3 grades in one.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, teaching 3 grades in one classroom is the hardest part of all of this. I just thinking about 3-5, you're teaching beginning multiplication all the way through fractions and decimals at the same time.
Yeah.
Like literally at the same time. How do you do that? But that's a challenge in math, and then you're also, I mean, literacy is, I think, a little bit more realistic because in any classroom. You would have. Skills that are. Very broad, right? I mean, in a typical 3rd grade classroom, you're still teaching letter sounds all the way up to. Advanced chapter books, that would just be standard because kids develop reading skills at different paces, but to teach math. At all of those different standards at the same time is such a huge challenge. So it may take more than 1 year to get math underneath us.
Or hire one more teacher.
And hire one more teacher. So I just think we still would want to do it. I mean, curriculum if we could.
Oh, sure, yeah, but if you hire one more teacher, you can express the thing.
Is it in our budget to hire another teacher?
Not yet.
Gotta work towards.
I mean, I don't know, do you want, Jennifer, I don't want to put you on the spot, but did I miss anything as far as the challenges of tackling a new curriculum and teaching 3 grades at the same time?
I think so.
So it's just a snapshot, but we will come back in after the winter diagnostic and we will be able to compare where we started with what growth we've made. And then at the end of the year, we'll be able to look at how much our students grew this year. And by sticking with hopefully the same diagnostic year after year for a couple of years, we'll really start to see some trends. Yeah, it's the end of my report.
Okay, are there any questions for Kelly on something she mentioned and subject we talked about or subjects we didn't talk about? Okay, let's move on to our review of policies. I believe that we have two policies here. Well, I guess I see three. First one on the agenda is 3245, student telecommunications. This is our second reading of that one. Yeah, that's not in our book for some reason.
It's not in this stuff. In the, I didn't look at the second reading.
I'll print it real quick if you want to do it, or you can put it forward next. You want me to get it? I can either get it for us real quick while we look at the other ones, or we can put it forward to next time, whichever the board prefers.
Let's say we had it at the last meeting, so I was looking for a copy, but I don't see it right.
Very few changes.
So let's go on to 6600 transportation, first reading. Does anyone have any comments or questions regarding the proposed changes to policy 6600?
So what's in red is what you want to add to it. And then down below you crossed out your thing.
Yeah, so I took this straight from WASDA's model policy.
Well, A just doesn't,
Pardon?
A just doesn't make sense for us.
Well,
About
the,
everybody is, I mean, the majority of kids are within 1 mile radius of the school.
but they ride the bus because we don't have sidewalks.
We don't have
and things
sidewalks,
like that.
right.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, I'm just saying,
In
that's,
winter weather.
yeah, I mean, it's,
So-
yeah,
But to bring that up, my question is on the red part, when it gets down to the middle where it says, for purposes of this paragraph, eligible student means. And I don't understand why eligible student means has to be different than what's above. Do we need that last half? And so maybe I just didn't read it with a taking 3 steps back here. But I have no objection to the whole intent of this modification or addition to the policy. I just wondered if we needed a different definition of eligible student. It references the RCW, whose route stop is, and goes into the same things that are up above.
but I'm just saying the up above just doesn't make, because it says the district may provide transportation to and from school for a student whose residence is beyond the 1 mile radius. Well, that kind of makes you think you shouldn't,
Well, you're not.
because it says you may provide it
Yeah.
if
So
this,
the
if
key
you meet this
is, if I
requirement.
understand it right, the key is we have to follow this so that we get reimbursed. So when this doesn't apply to us, we have to justify that so that we get reimbursed for our
Okay.
mileage.
All right,
So we need to show why we are providing transportation to students who live within a 1 mile radius.
right.
And it's basically students of choice. The students right here walk. But anyone
They ride
who
the
has
bus.
to,
I was gonna say, they run the
They ride the bus.
Rathburgers,
Yeah, well, they're not here now, but,
when they were here.
yeah, all the kids on that lane over there ride the
And
bus.
we justify that for A, we don't have any sidewalks.
Mhm.
B, our intersections don't have lights and stuff like that. But the big thing is that we have a lot of inclement weather.
Right,
Whether that's rain or ice or snow and things like that. So we justify all of our students riding the bus and we're reimbursed.
yeah, just B takes care of
B.
that.
I know it's not
Yeah.
public comment, but on my stars reporting, I put all this down where the kids, you know, we don't have sidewalks. And every 2 years, I have to have a paper signed, so I have the sheriff's office sign it. The principal slash superintendent sign it, so it's just on our record to say that the county does not have sidewalks for us, so it's already in our stars reporting and stuff that we basically pick up all the kids around here.
So the purpose of having a policy is just so we know what we're providing an exception to on your
Basically.
report, yeah.
So this is just basic policy, not that we have somebody that needs to bring it to it.
It's literally it is word for word the
Okay.
model policy. And there was nothing in it that I felt didn't match. For us, so. Really, it's the walking route to school is hazardous. That's what our students.
Yeah.
Fall under. And then the school bus trespass was important, due to some other updates. That, I mean, I'm not due to a concern, but adding that to the policy.
Well, one of the things that policies always do is add this wording or designee, which, you know, I don't have any real problem with that, but how does somebody know who the designee is?
I think that's like,
So we have to have some way of making sure that it's documented that Barbie has delegated this and this designee is implemented when you're out of the office or. And people don't know that, and so I never really like it when they say that. Because it's a superintendent principal, and if they're not here, there's someone who is left in charge. Delegation of authority takes place.
But it's like, a lot of schools, the superintendent isn't responsible for scheduling, but they are ultimately responsible, and whoever they designate is the person who does it.
Right, but nobody knows who the designee is. If a parent picks this up, they're going, well, who's in charge? I don't know. That's just my own personal comment.
What's that, Bill?
We got a vice principal now, isn't it? Always
Mhm.
next in charge.
He did it.
You just need to make sure we have delegation of authorities in place so that we have legal coverage. Okay, so this is our first reading of this policy. Any other comments we need to get down regarding this policy?
Nope.
Okay, let's move on to, maintaining professional staff and student boundaries, policy 5253. We approved this policy, last spring, and I think there's just one change that's been added.
just two, and the only reason I even looked at this one is just the board has referenced it a couple of times, and I just was reviewing it, and I noticed in reviewing WASDA's model policy, there was just one slight change under use of technology, and then on the back, just the wording seemed more clear to change that sentence.
Okay, this is the first reading of this one. Does anybody have any comments or questions about the two proposed changes to this one?
No, I would like to, I think the comments we've had on this, like, let's get our, to match our.
Right,
Express
we want to
this.
get this in place
acknowledged procedure that-
and that procedure, if you need time to discuss with us, we can have a workshop. Otherwise, just feel free to bring that to us and tell us all about it. Okay, let's go back up to the second reading.
There is one, on D. The end of line D, I made mention of it last time, but it didn't get corrected on the students.
Oh, we're on to that.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Did I miss it?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
The two paragraphs need a space in between the two under the general standards.
but, oh, you like it?
No, I'm just, yeah, we all laughed at it. You're like,
Yeah.
Here.
We'll read it off from that.
I'll read the sentence.
I don't know where you're into,
Right there. Or other mate.
the other material.
I just, maybe I thought it was funny and I went. We'll fix that.
So this is the second reading on this policy.
Fix that right now.
Any other comments or changes or corrections to policy or to policy 3245? If not, let's move this policy down to an action item so that if there's a public comment, we can receive public comments on this before we approve it. Does that sound like it makes sense? Is everybody like that idea, postponing approval of this? until-
Yep.
Okay, let's do that. So let's move on to, well, by Joe, let's move on to public comment. Do you have any public comment, Jeff? Welcome.
I hope I can keep it all straight. I like, some that just came up during this, I just wanted to say like, internet to the bus barn. I mean, oh, an antenna on both sides, like this is a non-issue. We should just do it. Let's see. I think I'm missing one in the middle, but on the policies, I think as an audience listening, I don't know, does anybody know what we were talking, like, we're not looking at the paper, and so if, I saw one, I could see the red was really long and you wouldn't want to necessarily read it, but if they're short, can you maybe either read them or maybe they can get put on the agenda or something so that the public can know what's being discussed.
I appreciate that because we have modified in the past to make sure the agenda has the title. But we have never read out loud any of the policies as we're discussing them or the suggested changes. So that's something I think we can talk about improving there.
Yeah, we just have
That's
to
the
make,
right one.
we have to make very clear.
Yeah, have copies available.
Yeah, we just have to make
The other
really
thing-
clear that we're, that this is, you know, that changes might be made or haven't, you know, that these.
Would be like just having
Yeah.
copies available, if people wanted to see them.
Yeah, probably be great, yeah.
Yeah,
There's no reason why they couldn't be available
Yeah.
online.
right, we talked about that.
Sure.
too.
Yeah. And so
and-
would you make a note of that, please, Jeff, that maybe we can, you and Kelly can talk about having them available online.
And just based on the title of one from the agenda, student, what is it, student use of
Telecommunications devices.
telecommunication devices? Yeah, I just wanted to comment that we run into this continual, one different needs at different grade levels, right? Being a K-12 school. But in PCIA in particular, being both a high school and a college, we have that mix where students are expected to act like college students in a lot of cases. So for example, I use a product called Canvas, which is pretty much every university uses to manage and track curriculum. There's a Canvas app on their phone, which is super useful for turning in assignments. A lot of the work, if it's written work, you write it, you take a picture and turn it in electronically. You're not handing me a paper. You're using a phone to do that. There are workarounds, right? They have laptops with a phone, so they can kind of turn around like it. But again, are we doing a college class or are we doing a high school class, right? It's both. It's a conundrum. I recognize the problems with technology in the classroom, but I also recognize that the world is different today. And we're in a particularly, that interesting situation of college work, high school students. So I don't know what the policy says, but I hope that the board is considering that, Pandora's box, you can't put it back in the box always. The world is what it is. And adults are expected to behave a certain way, act a certain way, have certain tools. when a student is in college, they're an adult, they're acting as an adult. And to tell a student that you need to do this adult work, but you don't get the tools of an adult, and we're gonna have to make workarounds, it just creates problems in the classroom. And I wanted you to consider that.
Thank you. I think there's a change we can make to address that.
Thank you.
Leave it up to the teacher's discretion.
Other, public comments? Hi, Katie, welcome.
Thanks. I have some, and no, I probably shouldn't, but some are questions. So is there gonna be an ASB for the Mill A school? Like they had in the past?
Not like there has in the past. There is not a supplemental contract for it in the CBA. And so in working through the supplemental contracts, that was one of the things that we had to come to an agreement on. And right now, we have a teacher who is considering and willing to potentially spend some of her time volunteering, but we don't know what it looks like.
Okay.
My understanding is that it was just part of Ms. Herman's job description. And migrating it over to a staff member is gonna take a little bit of time and work with the union before we can make that happen.
Okay, I was just gonna say, last year they had it on Wednesdays, so the kids would go to their meeting, ASB meeting, and then they could catch my bus on the way back, and that way they weren't taken away from the classroom. And they still had a ride home. My other thing is a light in the parking lot. Because it's dark out there and, you know, for some reason, if the school lights aren't on, I get here at 5:45 in the morning, it's dark. I, of course, have my flashlight and stuff, but it'd just be nice to, like, when I leave, or any of the teachers get here or leave, it'd be nice if there was some kind of a light, even if it's over by the dumpster area, that would kind of put a little bit of light on the parking.
Any of them motion detection at all?
The fire department has motion detection on theirs. On the bus barn, there is a light that stays on, but it just gets, it's not very good. It just kind of, it lights up right in front. And there is one, I asked them to put one on a couple of years ago, so when I was getting fuel after dark, I could have a light out there, but that one doesn't really light up a whole lot. It's on the, it'd be on the south side of the building. I don't know if it just needs to be aimed or the sensor. I know when I walk by it in the mornings, I can't get it on, but if I drive my bus by, it comes on. So it'd just be nice. And I've heard comment from other people that, like after a board meeting, it's dark out in the parking lot. So, and then, another one, is there any grants for upgrades of the bus barn, like insulation and maybe a little heat in the barn?
We can look.
There's, you know, like this time of year, I come in with a wet bus, the brakes are all wet and everything. And then it freezes out there and then it just takes a little bit longer to thaw out my bus in the mornings. So. And then on the first reading of the 6600, can you kind of clarify the red part about the baby car seat on the bus?
Because many schools have daycares, many high schools have daycares.
Oh. But they also have to have, if there is a baby on the bus, they have to have the proper seat belts and stuff that a car seat. will
Yeah.
Fit in, and even the Suburban and stuff would have to have it, so I just wanted clarification, we're gonna be calling a baby.
So I mean, I don't anticipate that we'll be meeting and or opening a school daycare
Okay,
anytime soon. As a K-8 district, I don't believe that we will be doing that, but
I just seen it and it's like, can you clarify, you know, what that is as a bus driver, I would like to know.
Oh, public comment, Daley, thank you.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, just a quick suggestion. There was the link to the agenda for tonight. It was just a blank agenda, so just noting that. But also off of what Jeff said, for people that can't attend meetings in person, if you could like hyperlink the policies in the agenda, so like in the PDF, so that way we could access it easily if we needed to.
I really agree with that. We'll talk about that when we get out of the public session, because that's a good idea.
Thank you.
I have one more. Last week, as everybody knows, Highway 14 was shut down because of the accident. And I already know the answer, I'm pretty sure to this. But it was dangerous as a bus driver, taking the kids home with these truckers going so fast. Is there any way school district or board could talk to the sheriff's office or Washington State and maybe let the cars come up around here, but shut down the semis? I was waiting to turn up the Willard Road last week and there was like 5 semis, which couldn't stay in their lane. And I waited for 25 cars to go by before somebody stopped and let me turn in front of them. And there was another line of traffic behind that car. But it's just, there's a couple stops for the older kids. I have to cross them. And it was pretty uncomfortable to make sure that these semis were gonna stop because they were going way too fast up here. So,
They were continual.
yeah,
There was hardly a break. I was at my brother's. And I just saw the cars going by.
My husband actually called the sheriff's office because semis were flying down the road. Well, one of the semis went flying down the road when he was taking the garbage out.
I
of the
think it'd
road.
be nice if we could get some sheriff's,
Patrol
They
or
have
something.
to.
some patrol
Yeah.
up
I
here.
mean, it is
Just on a regular
alternate
basis.
Highway 14, so the idea is if it closes, this is the way goods and services go around. We are on the alternate state highway, so
I can
they're
understand
not
that.
gonna like shut down the semis, but like
Well, they
extra
could
patrol would make sense.
get it by Bridge of the Gods and send them across on the Oregon side a little
that
bit
would
or
really be
something.
Yeah, I don't,
Maybe, I'd be happy to call and request that there's extra presence up here anytime Highway 14 is closed.
That would be nice because they
that
were
would be,
in my
yeah.
lane coming up the hill and going down the hill and
I just think traffic up here, I mean, traffic going. Down to Little Rock Creek Road is way too fast and up and down, it's way too fast.
You just need one of those empty police cars like they have by the airport. To get people to slow down.
I'd like,
this,
Well, one thing I think that people don't realize is that Jessup Road is 25 miles per hour, not 35.
well, there's a clear sign when you turn onto Jessup Road. So, yeah. I mean,
my school bus was almost in a head-on twice heading up, once going up Little Rock Creek and once coming down by the same person, just in a different car. Once he was in the car and once he was in the pickup.
It wasn't so us.
Yes, it was Robbie. No, it was,
yeah,
I
they
do
don't,
think I
they
do
don't
think
stop
that,
at the stop sign
yeah,
going down
ever.
either, coming off.
We're
Little
not
Rock Creek
supposed to be
onto
getting
Jessup.
into discussion, but I think
But
a
it
second
affects the
25
kids.
mile per hour sign at the straight stretch would be a good idea by the church there somewhere.
I don't know, but I mean, we are talking kids that are getting picked up, and so it's a safety concern.
Okay, anything else? All right, let us move on to old business and new business. So doing that, I would like to just clarify the policy 6600, which was the first reading, so it'll be at the next meeting. The addition is to ensure that if an eligible student requests transportation, they may bring an infant on the bus, and it does say that the infant must be transported in a rear-facing child restraint system as defined by the federal law.
I would imagine that they have to supply that parcel.
Yes, they have to supply the car seat.
But if we don't have that in place, then there's need
Yeah.
for us to reimburse them for, and then it's not gonna happen anyway, because most people that.
And as we've discussed before, we're trying to improve what we do to ensure, and we've heard from Jeff before, suggestions, and so I'd like to make sure that we have Kelly and Jessica discuss the option of posting the major one-page budget report for the general fund, post our policies that are going to be up for discussion, and anything else that, is applicable for the appropriate meeting. We can have copies here, but like Naomi said, then she still can't, she didn't have access to the hard copies, so.
Well, that's what,
We
that's,
want to do a better job, and so let's have them suggest what they can do for us. Go ahead.
well, I think that's, we talked, Tim had asked for that, we were gonna do that with our board docs, which we are.
Right.
But then and if the solution is that we're 2 months out, but we're gonna have it, and we'll have a way to do it on,
All of our policies
On
will
the-
be out there, yeah.
well, but like with the changes linked to
Mhm.
the agenda, then, maybe we don't need to solve an interim solution for, in my opinion, if we have a good solution, once we're on apogee
I
of
get
the.
it, okay.
So we're on old business, new business, good of the order.
We sure are. Go right ahead.
Okay, so, the, antenna needed, or the internet, what internet do we use right now? What internet system do we use right now?
I
So can
believe-
we extend it out to the trailer?
Do we have something, the same thing that ESD provides, or?
Yeah, the ESD provides it.
Yeah,
through
It's
contract.
an ESD provided.
different-
I
You want a
don't think
quick
that that's
comment?
the issue. I think the issue is
Yeah.
the distance.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
it's just a tiny bit too far.
So the internet that we receive, there's no problem with that. You have internet coming into the school. And then we have routers all around the school that I think, I don't know whether anyway. Doesn't really matter what technology it is. There's multiple devices that are all linked up back to that center thing. The problem with the bus barn that makes it difficult to just add another one of those is the distance and the type of antenna. But I imagine with these things that we have all over the school, most likely, or if not, a different model you would buy. You would just buy a model with an antenna port. You can get a directional antenna and basically shoot a beam wherever you want. For example, I have a 20 megabit connection at my house that goes from my house on the Oregon side across the river to the lookout on Cook Underwood Road. And it's just 802.11ax. It's the same thing people have in their home. So it's not like, there's just a way to do it. And I don't know off the top of my head, I can't point to the devices, but you can simply just beam a little bit further. And then once you get across that distance barrier, then you have something like this to broadcast to the local, building.
An extender, a point to point.
Yeah.
You can do a very reasonable, like, you don't need super high, you spend a few hundred dollars.
So do you need to go through ESD?
So if our current tech person isn't knowledgeable enough to take care of that, can we seek a local knowledgeable volunteer or someone else to address that issue and resolve it for us?
We can.
All right, let's do it.
There's some people at this table.
Yeah.
Point to point wireless.
Point at themselves?
There's this guy.
Over some
Eric
really
Lundby
long
that works
distances.
for a tech company.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it's a very solvable problem.
Yeah, so I think that Kelly can move right forward with that suggestion.
So are there plugins in the bus barn? They can put heaters out there?
There is a heater out there, but I don't know if they're sufficient for what Barbie needs.
I have a little heater in my office and it's not going anyplace. Because that office is really cold. But if you put a heater out in the bus barn, there's no insulation. I mean, it's just, there's not even a full ceiling and it's just gonna go out and, all the cracks around the doors and stuff like that.
So what were you thinking, re-insulating the building and?
I was hoping
The whole
maybe
work.
insulating and maybe even putting in a a ceiling, a lower ceiling, so at least. When you pull in, you know, the bus, of course, won't hit it, but have it down so you can have heat in it. And it will just keep the bus a little bit warmer.
So what do you use when it drops down to zero to keep your bus stuff from not freezing up in the morning?
There is a plug-in. I don't know if bus 3 should have where I can plug it into electric, but that's for the motor and stuff. But as far as
Great.
keeping the water, you know, getting the water to melt, the ice to melt off the bus. Cause in the past, the next morning I'd come to work and there's still all this snow and everything all up under the bus. And so it should be a little bit more heat or something.
Okay, well, maybe we need to brainstorm that, and I'm sure that we could find somebody to brainstorm that. Okay, let's see, what else, anything else, new business, good for the order, let's move on then to, action items, we have the policy 3245. And so let's, read that for Jeff, and I'd like to suggest a couple of changes. So policy 3245, student telecommunication devices. So I'll just read the introduction. Students in possession of telecommunication devices, including but not limited to pagers, beepers, and cellular phones, while on school property or while attending school-sponsored or school-related activities, shall observe the following conditions. Well, A, telecommunications devices shall be turned off during the regular school day. Telecommunication devices may be turned on before and after the regular school day and during students' lunch break, unless an emergency situation exists that involves imminent physical danger or, and here's what it currently says, a school administrator authorizes the student to use the device. We could say instead, a school administrator or instructor authorizes the student to use the device, or, and if the device is, authorized to be used as part of the learning environment. So for example, I understand, and I don't know, I just heard this, but you could get these translation apps on the cell phone. So when one of our students who doesn't speak English is speaking another language, the other student can use that app and they can talk back and forth. And that also would then address some of your things you mentioned, Jeff, about using a cell phone for school purposes. So if we rewrote that,
Read B.
I think B addresses that.
oh, well, students may access their telecommunication devices during instructional time when an educator asks expressly as a part of a lesson plan, which doesn't include the translation app that they might want to use
But
during a break or
I'm
something.
wondering, would it be enough? Do you think?
Would you like me to, I can take this back and,
Well, I'm just wondering if we just said when an educator expressly allows it.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, would that be enough? Because if the educator expressly allows it, then
Yeah.
that's,
Take off
Do they-
as part of a lesson plan.
yeah,
It
Expressly allows.
it.
it just say, it takes off asks and then say expressly allows it.
Do you think we should modify A then too as well?
You could leave A alone and just change B.
Yeah.
It covers.
Okay, does that? You want to read this real quick? Oh, you
Oh, I
got
think,
it.
yeah, and I think that would work perfectly fine, because there is the balance, and that gives Kelly the opportunity to work with us to set the parameters in a way that works for the school. Yeah,
that was my intent behind B.
right.
And it probably makes different amounts of sense depending on the class and the
Yeah.
classroom and the topic. And how,
Great, Eric, thank you very much, that makes it real simple. And so.
Anita, could you put something about phones on the school bus?
About on the school bus.
I know it'd be harder to control, but I really think not the older kids, but the real tiny kids, but kind of the mid-age. I haven't exactly seen what they're pulling up on their phone and showing the other kids. But sometimes I get the impression that it's not appropriate for school property. And I don't know if you could do anything since
It
there's,
says while on school property, and if the
So
bus
that's the
is
school bus
considered
then.
school property,
yeah,
then you
Even
should
though
be
it's,
covered.
yeah.
yeah, it's considered a
route.
classroom. I mean, you know,
Mhm.
basically until they get off the bus. So, yeah, I missed that part. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it just says they can use it after this normal school day, but they have to be appropriate. There's other.
Well, I guess that does bring up the part, the last half of the very first sentence says, or while attending school-sponsored or school-related activities. Well, what if they're there at the evenings in a school evening event? They can, are we telling them they can't use their cell phones?
Oh, which one?
The very first
The very
paragraph,
first A. Says
Yeah.
that,
not even A.
oh, above A,
Yeah,
oh,
but that says she'll
Oh,
observe
yeah,
the following
Oh,
guidelines.
yeah.
The guidelines say they can do it after school hours.
You're
They-
right, Gary. Thank you very much for clarifying that. I didn't read it all the way through.
It just says when you
I-
bring it there, it's subject to search and you have to be appropriate. In F.
Right, so D would address.
Yeah.
Your
Inappropriate
concern about, yeah.
materials.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, D says students shall not send, share, view, or possess pictures, text messages, emails, or other material depicting sexual explicit conduct. As defined in a particular RCW.
Okay,
she might be worried about more than just sexually explicit, there might.
Well, the
be-
student is on school grounds at school sponsored events or school buses or vehicles provided by the district.
But I mean, it specifically says depicting sexually explicit.
Right, so
Conduct,
that's
so-
her situation, yeah.
Well, might not. I mean,
Yeah,
it could
and
be
I
some
can't
crude jokes
see or
or
tell what the
and not be
kids are doing.
sexual, you know, it could be inappropriate.
It does say,
Thank you.
item E, when a school official has reasonable suspicion based on objective and articulable facts that a student is using a telecommunications device in a manner that violates the law or school rules, the official may confiscate the device, which shall only be returned to the student's parent or legal guardian.
okay.
So you might tell Kelly, you know, you might have to implement this if you, what's going on, you think.
I think maybe just warning the kids of that fact.
And the kids are pretty good about, if I tell them something, we might have to remind them a few times, but, and I have taken some of their stuff away and given it back as they're getting off the bus and say, you can't do this on the bus. Here's, you know,
But this goes further than that.
yeah,
This says you
it
give it
does,
back to the
so
parent.
parent,
But a couple warnings might be a good way.
yeah, because kids don't want the parents to get their phones.
Right.
So,
Okay, are we ready to approve this as modified B?
So this came after the public comment. Can I make a very quick one? And this would just be a suggestion you might have already done. I think it was H on there that talked about allowing, or that the parents and student agree to a search in certain circumstances.
At the student's device.
Yeah, my understanding from other contexts is that that is illegal. That the student has a right to public education and you can't take away certain things like the rules around rights to privacy, right? Of course, no one has an unlimited right to privacy. But I don't know that it's within the purview of a school district to supersede what are the norms of the USA for when you can search. And I'm not a lawyer. I don't have an opinion on whether it's good or bad. I'm just saying that it might be worth checking with a legal counsel
Well,
on that.
this was written
By legal counsel?
by, this is the model policy
Alright.
from WASDA.
Right.
School District Association and
Okay, good.
without our changes.
Thank
on
you.
that
So I think what the key to start with anyway is making sure the students are aware of F. It says, by bringing a cell phone or other electronic device to school or to school-sponsored events, the student and their parent consent to a search of the student's device when school officials, blah, 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 have reasonable suspicion.
If it's OSPI,
But
we're
if they
in.
aren't aware of that, it's our
Yeah.
responsibility to make sure that they're
It
aware of
is.
that if we expect to be able to implement that. We cannot implement if we haven't informed them. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
Okay, how you feeling, guys?
I move that we adopt policy 3245 with
With the correction
Per-
that have been made.
all the things we're talking about with the changes to, with the previously submitted changes, the removal of the word mate from section B. And then changing that section B, so it reads, when an educator expressly allows it.
Okay, there's
I'll
second,
second it.
been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All right, everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, that passes, and thank you very much. Let's move on to, do you need anything for us for Simply Safe? You don't, $22 a month, you don't need you're not.
Just your approval.
Okay, so we don't need to vote on that one. What about, what's the supplement contracts?
I just need your approval to move forward with the supplemental contracts. For the extracurriculars, for the CBA, for, yearbook advisor, robotics club, science club, knowledge bowl, and, as we talked about a little bit earlier, ASB is not part of the CBA. However, I met with, the union, and we came to, an agreement for this year for PCIA ASB, and so I have a contract for PCIA ASB advisor as well. So
So we pass them around because we haven't seen those yet.
the stipends are in the CBAs.
These are the clean copies, so we'll have to take a look over there and then we'll pass them on.
So what are we doing with them?
I just,
We just need to.
we just need to approve the contract for them to be the advisor of the clubs. It's part of the CBA, but before I can sign the contract with them, we need board approval. The only one that's not in this, in the CBA is the ASB, this Associated Student Body. Because it was part of Ms. Herman's position. But Ms. Brooks is taking it on this year, and I met with Jeff and Ryan. And, we settled on what seemed like a fair stipend for this year, and then we'll continue to work on that for next year, along with Formula A. We are gonna work on, club descriptions in the future.
Rather vague when it says will conclude with the end of the competition season, when we don't know what the competition season is.
That neither do they, that is,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Depends on how-
depends on how long they went. That was, yeah,
Gotcha. So but the contract amount. should reflect- I mean.
it doesn't, yeah, it's negotiated for
The
Yeah,
whole year.
the whole year, for
Yeah.
as long as,
right.
So if he wants time off, he just needs to change the.
yeah,
put the worst kids out there. and-
Right. No, I'm sure they're gonna wanna do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. I moved that we approve those.
I
I'll
have second
second
yet, but go right ahead.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
She hasn't read them yet. Keith and I were just ahead of the game.
Is this the total of the supplemental contracts or you?
There is one more, for a club that does not, have a student roster yet. So I wasn't
Gonna bring it forward.
gonna bring it forward until they have students. We, as part of the discussion about ASB, the high cap advisor is a supplemental contract that we won't be moving forward with this year. It's part of where the ASB funds are coming from.
So how are these paid, in one lump sum
Yeah,
and,
once we send these over to payroll, they will,
they'll pay them?
they'll pay them, which is why I'm not bringing forward the one that hasn't started yet.
Oh, so they're paid now, not.
They're all up and running, all these clubs. They have
Very,
been.
very happy about that. This was, they really, had to put up with a lot with the last couple of years of not being able to have them, so. Anyone have any questions or anything, other questions on the contract? All right, go right ahead, Keith.
I moved that we approve.
And I seconded it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the supplemental contracts as presented to us for clubs. And I guess for the point of the minutes, it is for the Associated Student Body Advisor, for the Yearbook Advisor, for the Robotics Club Advisor, for the Science Club Advisor, and the Knowledge Bowl Coach. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? I said aye too. Is there anything else that needs approval that we need to address, or we already addressed but didn't vote on? I don't think so. I think we're looking good. Kelly, for item 11, is there any need to implement that?
I actually think we, are okay and things.
Okay, so item 11 on the agenda, executive session, we will not hold, so we will move on. Any last questions before we adjourn?
Yeah, can I ask a stupid question?
You sure can.
What's a robotics club?
We build robots and the students program them to drive autonomously and do certain tasks like, I mean, it's silly things like put the ball in the basket, but it's pretty hard to make a robot do that without, driving it. So those are the kind of goals we have, and they learn some structural engineering just by virtue of if you don't get it square and tight, it's gonna fall apart, which is pretty common. They learn some programming to get, motors to move and arms to move and do things, and yeah, and then there's a competition, which is why it's kind of open-ended as to when it ends. If we do, well, if the weather allows us to participate, what we've had a couple of times where the gorge has been completely frozen, but the competition was in Seattle and they didn't cancel it. So we couldn't go because we couldn't drive and we had to forfeit. But if we can go and we succeed, we can move on to a regional and then a state championship thing, just like any kind of sport.
Sounds like a pretty fun club.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can I join?
I'm
Sure, they
hoping,
can
Yeah.
use some volunteers.
I'm hoping that some of our clubs will take pictures when they do their competitions, but every time I ask, they're like, oh, we were.
It turns out it's very busy while you're at these things. The way it works, you don't show up with your working robot and compete. You show up with a robot that you thought was working and then you find out it's not. And then everybody's scrambling.
So it's not like battle bots where they fight.
Yeah, they want to do that, but that's really expensive. You don't want to fund that.
After the meeting, is there any union update we should know about? No?
No.
Okay, let's move a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that money.
All right, everybody
Go get it,
agree to
Patty.
adjourn?
Yes.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned, and if I could kind of tell, is that like?
8:08.
8:08 or something?
All right, for what we got. Let's go. Yeah.